All right, whenever you're ready.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, everybody. Welcome to lesson 7 of how to be your own genie. Okay, so I trust everyone's doing well tonight, and I'm going to say in advance that I have banana bread baking in the oven. So I may have to take some 30-second breaks just to take it out of the oven at some point. All right, so I apologize for that, but that's your warning in advance.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, now what we're going to do is a little recap of things we've learned in the past 6 lessons. So I would like to know, are you doing your mind movie?
Yes, but I need to like put a big thing on my refrigerator or something, so I remember to do it more often.
Ah, all right. Well, a good thing to do is to get up 5 minutes earlier and to go to bed 5 minutes earlier. And you do this movie right as you're in the waking stages. So you're kind of in this groggy situation where you're not sure what's real and what's not. So you're still in that dreamlike state. And then as you're going to bed, just before you fall asleep, you want to be catching yourself and doing the mind movie so that you're in that hypnotic state of mind.
Now, is that good for like materializing, memorizing, and all that stuff?
Yes, sir. I don't know if you listened to lesson 1, but it explains the mind movie in detail. And I highly recommend lesson 1.
Yeah, okay, because I do that on my own, like once in a while, whenever. Well, when I go to sleep, I pray to God or whatever, I don't know if you guys would do or not, but and then I tell him for everything, whatever. And the next day in the morning, I also wake up right before I even get up, before I go bathroom or whatever. As soon as I open my eyes up, I give him thanks to everything. So it's similar to like that, I guess.
Oh, yes, that is an excellent habit because if you're thanking God, or some people don't believe in God, they want to thank the universe, it doesn't matter. Okay. If you're thanking God for something, you have an attitude of gratitude, which means you're going to feel blessed. You're going to feel lucky to be alive, lucky to have certain things. And then the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is going to give you more of that feeling of gratitude. You're going to have more to be grateful for. So that's a very good habit. Excellent job. Okay, now, oh, by the way, I would like to go over the movie again. We're going to go over this in a little bit more detail today, but the Mind movie is an event. So your movie is going to be, you're going to be picturing something proceeding. So an event that proves you got your heart's desire. And it could be well into the future. It could be a week from now. It doesn't matter, but it's going to prove that you got your heart's desire. And you're going to imagine all of the colors that are there, the people that are there, the smells, if there are any. If you're by the ocean, you're going to smell the ocean and the beach, maybe even suntan lotion, right? If there's a party, well, you're going to smell all the different food that you'll be eating. Okay, so what does it smell like? What does the food taste like? You're going to just be imagining everything in exquisite detail, all of the colors and sounds. Is there music? Is there like a babbling brook? Maybe you're in the woods somewhere and there's birds chirping, that sort of thing. You're going to imagine in detail all of the things that happen, and you will have a conversation in that event with a loved one, and you will look back on you right now, present day, and you're going to discuss the journey that you took to get to that point. So between you where you are right now and that event happening, you are going to look back on it and discuss the journey to get to your goal, if that makes any sense. Okay, so that's your mind movie. But thanking God right before you go to bed and right as you wake up, that is also excellent to do in addition to this. Wonderful, wonderful habit. All right, I'd like to know if anyone has had anything come in. Have you reached your goal? Have you noticed synchronicities, getting closer to your goal, that sort of thing?
I've noticed like all my mentality towards things is changing.
All right, well, that's the first step, is an attitude of gratitude, and also your belief level is getting higher because you understand that this is real. This is not pie in the sky stuff. There are many people that have done this in the past, and you are going to follow in their footsteps, and you're starting to get that more and more. So awesome. Good job. All right. Now, what are the basics? There are 5 basics that we learned. Can anyone tell me even one of them?
Who do you listen to? Teachability index, training balance scale, 4 steps of learning, and master the basics.
Whoa, good job. See, now we're even getting better at that stuff, because remember, in the first 3 or 4 lessons, nobody would know, or maybe 1 or 2 answers would come up, and that was it. That was like, did you hear yourself? That was like automatic. Like you knew all of them.
That's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah, so that means that your teachability index is probably pretty high right now. Okay, so the basics. Who do you listen to? That is all about, you are going to listen to someone who has already succeeded many, many times at the topic at hand, okay? And they're someone that you would call a master or an expert, not a so-called expert, not a university professor, although a university professor may be an expert at something. They probably aren't. Okay, so you want to go for somebody that is an expert and a master at whatever it is we're talking about. I was fortunate enough to learn pool from Mike Siegel, he is the winningest pool player of all time, and he was a member of GIN. Okay, so if you want somebody to teach you pool, get Mike Siegel to teach you pool if he's available, right? Okay. Now, so that's who do you listen to? And ultimately, you listen to yourself. You're going to go with your gut. Use discernment. When you have a newspaper article that you're reading, use discernment. Maybe it's fake news, right? Even if it's coming from a so-called, reputable source, may not be a reputable story, right? If you're watching a program and some facts come about, may not be factual, or they might be facts, but it's not necessarily going to apply to you. So you have to use discernment. Now, teachability index, that has 2 factors. What are the 2 factors?
Willingness to learn and willingness to accept change.
Exactly. Good job. All right. And that is on a scale of 0 to 10. So you think to yourself, my willingness to learn, what is that? And you'll probably come up with a number, no problem. Maybe it's a 5. Okay. Well, what's your willingness to accept change? You're going to have to change things in your life. So what's your willingness to do that? What if it doesn't go with your beliefs? What if it disagrees with your religion, or what your parents used to teach you, or what your pastor says? Are you willing to accept that some things that people tell you may not be accurate? And if you are willing to accept change and it's very high, let's say it's an 8, well, you're going to multiply 5 by 8, okay? And that is going to be your teachability index. All right, now, the training balance scale. Training balance scale makes it sound like it's balanced, but actually it's not. In order to be balanced, you're going to use over 90% thinking and strategizing about your goal, your heart's desire. Less than 10% is going to be action. And the reason is because the more you focus on your thoughts about your goal, the more you will want to do the actions to make that happen. And also, the more your brain is going to be sending out a signal to other people and to the universe to make it so. So there may be a person who is really good at something and you need that skill. Well, they'll do it for you way faster than you could ever do it. And they'll do it for a song. Maybe you just need to do a simple trade with them. Now, they may need money, but the time it takes them to do it is much quicker than it would take you to earn that money. So all in all, it's a good deal. That's why we focus mainly on the thinking and strategizing side of the training balance scale and not on the action side. All right, the 4 steps of learning. Who knows what they are?
I'll just go by faith and learning.
Okay, well, first you are unconsciously incompetent. That means you don't know what you don't know. So when you're a baby, you have shoes on, but you don't really have a concept of tying your shoelace. Your mother ties your shoelace for you, and you don't even notice you're a baby. You don't know what you don't know. But then you're consciously incompetent. That means that you figured out that, hey, I have a shoelace and my mom keeps tying it, but I don't know what she's doing. I don't know how she does it. So you know that you don't know. Then you are consciously competent. That means that your mother has taught you how to tie a shoelace, but you're still learning. So you have to think, okay, well, first I have to cross my shoelaces. Okay, I've crossed them. Now what do I do? Oh yeah, I put this one through the other one. Okay, now I got to make a loop. Oh yeah, I got to put this around the loop this way, and then I pull it through and make another loop. Ah, hey, I did it. I tied my shoelace. Right? You have to think about it. But now as an adult, you are unconsciously competent. You do that all the time. You do that every day. You tie your shoes. You don't even register that you tied your shoes. You just think to yourself, well, I have to go outside. I got to go for a walk. You put on your shoes, you tie your shoelaces. You don't even think that you've tied your shoelace. You do this on autopilot. And that is the goal, that we are going to be successful and we're going to do the habits that are success habits on autopilot. Now, it's important to grasp a concept, but always be at a place where you believe that you're beginning to understand, but there must be so much more to know. Catch yourself whenever you say, oh, I get it, I get it. Because the truth is, when you say, I get it, I know everything, you actually have a low teachability index in that moment. You probably do get it, and it's important not to be confused your whole life, okay? But understand that you only understand the first layer and that there's many layers deep to this stuff. And that's really what going through all the levels is about, is you're just going over the basics over and over and over again, but at deeper levels of understanding. All right. Then we have master the basics. That's the 5th basic. Now, why is that the most important basic?
What? Yeah, you have to do all this and learn all this in order to have the foundation you need to move forward.
Yes, excellent. Your foundation needs to be deep in order for you to build your building upwards. Your building can only go as high as your foundation is deep. So if you have a very good deep foundation, you can go very high places. Okay, awesome. Now, we also learned about the system of success. Now, what is the system? Now, there's a triangle in the system. Who could tell me the 3 sides to the triangle?
Books, audio, and was it events?
That is correct. All right. And the triangle is, it's got a base to it, and it's also got a sun basically in the center of the triangle, and there are rays emanating from that center. So the rays stand for what?
Your peers?
Yes, exactly. Your peers, like-minded people. Most importantly, these are your friends that believe in bettering themselves. They believe in this material that we are learning. They're not knuckleheads at work, boneheads in your neighborhood, okay, that don't believe in bettering themselves and they just play video games all day, okay. This is people who are reading books that are all about personal development, just like you are. They are going to the same events. They're listening to the audios that you're listening to. That's who your peers are. What is the base? What does that stand for?
Recognition?
Yes, exactly. So at an event, we're going to have contests, performance contests. Who can sell the most stuff? Who can read the most books? Who can memorize the most audios? And the people that succeed at that can stand in front of everyone and they're going to get applause. It's going to feel really good. In fact, the highest achievers might even give a speech. And you might think, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to speak. But I can guarantee you, if you put in the effort of doing that, everyone is going to be applauding you. And it's like they are giving you positive energy. And you will just soak that up like a sponge. And it will feel so good and you'll feel so energized that it's amazing. Now, recognition also can be given. And giving recognition is just as important. When you give recognition to somebody, when you edify somebody, it is such a good feeling because you are giving someone positivity. And that acts like a mirror. And that ray of positivity that you give to them is going to come back to you, and you will feel that as well. So that's why recognition is so important. Now, books, which books do you read? Any book? Well, no. I'm going to give you books to read. I have already given you a list of 15 books, and that list can be found in the Genie training text. And so those are the books that you're going to read, and then I'll give you more books throughout the lessons, okay? Audios, you're going to be listening to this on YouTube. Also, I'm giving you audios that are in the Genie training. That is going to be audios with Kevin Trudeau speaking. Also, Earl Nightingale. I gave you guys The Strangest Secret to listen to and a couple others. Those types of audios are awesome to listen to all the time. All right, now because I'm such a cheapskate, I had to pay money for my SoundCloud to do an unlimited uploading. So I'm going to try and upload everything that I have on this type of stuff in the next month so that I don't have to pay for a second month. So when I'm giving you all of these audios, you don't have to listen to them all between today and tomorrow, okay? But I do encourage you to download them to your computer and save them on a flash drive, external hard drive, or if you have a very large capacity computer, then you could just save it right to your computer. And make sure you save it, actually save it. Don't just stream it, because then you have it forever, okay? And the reason is because I might not keep that SoundCloud for very long. I'm going to try for a month. We'll see. Okay. So anyway, that is what I've given you in Genie training. So I have already given you guys Your Wish is Your Command. That's with Kevin Trudeau speaking. Think of that like kindergarten. Okay. Then there's level 1. So that's like first grade. Okay. I have not completely uploaded grade 1 yet, but I will. Now, if you go to GD training and look for the first picture that I put on there for today, so it should have a pin with a Roman numeral 1 on it, or an I guess. And it's a pin from GIN, Global Information Network. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Do you have that on YouTube?
I sure do.
Okay, that's great. I'm going to have a story about that in a minute. But that's basically what we're doing right now, is we're going towards getting our level 1, getting our first grade finished, okay? And there will be a test. There is a test with a couple hundred questions on it. So this is serious stuff, you guys. We're really doing this, okay? All right, so another part of what we learned is how do we focus intensely when things are not going well? There are 3 things we do. Okay, so what we learned is you may get angry or you may get frustrated and upset, all right? So we allow ourselves to feel that anger and then quickly get over it, okay? But it is going to give us clarity on exactly what we don't want, okay? Then we turn our backs on what we don't want. We spit on it. You're dead to me. And we turn our backs to it. And we focus and look towards what we do want. And then we look at what we do want, we start creating, and we feel good. That's what you do when things are not going well. Okay, now another question I have is, how many people have read a book on the book list?
I have not finished it yet.
Okay, but you started? That is excellent. Excellent job. Okay. Another question I have is, who has listened to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale?
I kept meaning to, and I kept forgetting.
All right, so that is in the Genie training text. So you can click on it at any time. It's just a YouTube thing, so it's no problem. One of the things that Earl Nightingale says is, we become what we think about most of the time, or you get what you think about most of the time. Either one works. You become what you think about most of the time. Very profound. Now, has anyone finished listening to Your Wish is Your Command audios?
I haven't even started.
Okay, no problem, no pressure. I was just wondering. Notice how I'm kind of getting your minds adjusted to the idea of doing all of these things. But to be honest, it's your homework. I don't really care. I don't give a rat's behind if you do any of your homework, you guys. I really don't, because it doesn't affect me. I'm not going to suffer or gain if you do your homework. But you are the ones that are going to not get this training and not get it down if you don't do your homework. So it's really just you, and it's your best interest to do it. But I'm here to try to encourage it gently. I hope that comes across. I'm just gently suggesting to you guys that you listen to these audios, that you read these books, by asking you every time, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do that? And just seeing what the response is.
Can I get that on Genie Training right there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think it is an archive.com file, and it's all of the Your Wish is Your Command. It'll probably take you a couple weeks to go through the entire thing.
Yeah, because I haven't been on here about with that with you on that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to catch up on that.
Yeah, you can start right now. No time like the present.
Okay, thank you, Red Hippie.
All right, so for tonight's lesson, we're going to go over our mind movies and things like that. Okay, so when we're doing our mind movie, it is important to understand that the how is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how the goal is going to be accomplished. It's just the end goal that matters. Again, it doesn't matter how. So don't even think about how it is going to happen. Just know that it will. When you make a decision to create something, you're creating a business, or you're creating this goal that you have, your heart's desire, the money just appears out of thin air. I want to be clear. I mean, men are not going to come through your front door with bags full of money and lay them down at your feet and then walk out the door and you're just going to be rich. That's not reality, okay? But when you make a decision to do something, you're not going to try to do it, you're going to do it, the money will come. So you don't have to worry, well, where are we going to get the money? No, it doesn't matter. This is why it's best not to have your goal be to make money. Most people have trouble picturing $1 million, or they have trouble picturing $100 million, or whatever your goal is. And to be honest, money is just paper and coins anyway. You can't really use it for anything else except to spend it on something. So it's usually much better to picture a concrete object, or if your goal is not a concrete thing, but instead maybe your goal is a relationship with the love of your life, or maybe your goal is a skill like playing the piano really well, or learning a language fluently, okay? Picturing yourself speaking that language with native speakers of that tongue is far easier than to imagine $1 million. It's really quite difficult. But if you want to have your goal be to make money, I'm going to have more on that later. So it is a goal that you can have, but it's usually easier to picture concrete things as part of your success. Okay, so I have a story about when I was married, okay? My wife's name was Jeannie, so I had my own personal Jeannie. All right, so Jeannie and I qualified for level 5 in gym, which cost 10 grand a piece. And therefore, we were allowed to go to level 5 summer conference in Rome, 2012. Okay, but we had qualified late and it was sold out. Well, we were so bummed. Okay, things were not going well. Remember what we do when things don't go well? It allows us to clarify what we don't want. Well, I really wanted to go to Rome. And that was the whole point of Leveling Up, is that we would go to this conference and it was going to be so wonderful. And we'd get to see, you know, the Colosseum and the Vatican and everything, right? Okay, so I got angry, but I used the technique that I just talked about. I turned my back on what I didn't want, and I focused on what I did want. And I said very intensely, we are going, and that's it, period. I told Jeannie to buy plane tickets because we were going. She said, well, are you sure? Because it's sold out and we can't go to Rome. So why are we going to buy plane tickets to go to Rome? I mean, they're expensive. I said, nope, nope, nope. Buy the plane tickets. And I did a mind movie of Jeannie and I exploring Rome and, you know, looking at the Colosseum, going to the Vatican, going to museums, to different churches. It was amazing. And I even drew a picture because I'm fairly good at drawing and art. And I drew a picture of the Colosseum. And I also found a picture of the conference logo. And I drew a picture of that. And I put that up on my door. So I was looking at that every day. And I just focused intently on my mind movie. Well, it wasn't long, and we were told that a spot had opened up for us. Well, we booked the tickets to go to the conference, and we ended up having an excellent time. Now, Rome, that conference was magical. It was, I don't even know how to describe how wonderful it was. We had a ball, like literally a ball where you have to wear a ball gown. And the guys were in tuxedos, and I had this beautiful ball gown on. And there were hors d'oeuvres everywhere. And there were fans that would spritz, little droplets of water because it was very hot. It was in the summer in Rome. So it was very hot. And we were on the rooftop of this famous museum called Palazzo dei Conservatori. And that museum has got the equestrian statue of Marcus Aurelius, which is a very famous statue. And so we were overlooking this, and it also overlooks ancient Rome on the other side. So we're looking at ancient Rome with all the columns and the different relics and things. And the sun is setting. We're drinking champagne. It was just wonderful. Well, dessert starts. And we get dessert, and we had just eaten the most scrumptious meal. I mean, it was a 5-star meal. So we get dessert, and right as dessert starts coming out, Kevin Trudeau comes and he announces that we have some surprise guests. And it was the 3 tenors. So we got serenaded by the 3 tenors in Italy. And we're drinking wine and we're eating this fabulous meal overlooking ancient Rome. Like, it was just magical. It was so magical. And we got to do that all because of these techniques. And that's what happens when you focus on being grateful for what you have. The universe is going to give you more feelings of being grateful. That's just one example of using these techniques. Getting angry, using that anger to focus. And right away, you get out of the anger and you go into feelings of happiness again, because you're creating. Now, we also, we didn't have the money at the time to go. So I was careful not to focus on, well, how am I going to get the money? I focused instead on, I'm going to be in Rome looking at the Colosseum. I'm going to be a tourist walking around the Vatican. I didn't focus on, well, how am I going to get the money to pay for this? You understand? So it was quite useful. By the way, don't try and get angry. If you're not an angry person by nature, then don't force yourself to get angry. That's silly, okay? But if you are angry, or if you're feeling frustrated, or you're just not you're in a feeling of displeasure, use that to clarify what you don't want so that you can focus on what you do want. Notice also how I didn't try to go to Rome. We talked about that yesterday. You don't try, you just do. Jedi Knights don't try, Jedi Knights do. So you don't set out to try and do anything. You set out to go to Rome. So you're saying, I'm going to do it. That's it, period. How it happens is irrelevant. Don't worry about the how. Now, I talked also about the money just showing up. Okay, here's an example. Kevin Trudeau owned a company and he got an apprentice of his to run it. Okay, during the course of business, it came about that they needed to launch a satellite. The apprentice, not knowing the techniques as well as Kevin, started to worry, where are we going to get the money? He even figured out how much it was going to cost. He said, it's going to cost 2.8 million. Well, where are we going to get the money? And Kevin said, oh, don't worry about the money. Don't worry about it. The money will just come. It'll show up. And the apprentice was like, well, what do you mean? It'll just show up. But sure enough, they did the techniques and the money came. When it came time to launch the satellite, they had enough money. Why does this work? Well, remember how yesterday we did a creation exercise. And it was determined that people, human beings, are the happiest when we are creating. When someone tries to stop us or some situation starts to stop us from creating, we get frustrated. But why do you think it is that we are happiest when we are creating? What do you think?
You let go of all your frustrations. When I was in construction, like right now, I have to stay home and raise some grandkids. And when my wife passed away in 2010, it was a whole different kind of change of life. I got more frustrated at home than I was at work.
Okay, yeah, good point. Good point. Sorry, I had to get my banana bread out of the oven. Okay, so another thing too to consider is that we are happiest when creating because we are creators. You are not the creator, okay, but you are a creator. We are made in God's image. Now, we are not the creator, but we are co-creators with God to make our own lives what they are. And as a creator, you are happiest when you're doing your job of creating. That's what you're meant to do. You're meant to make things. As a human being, God has created you to be a spiritual being that is very powerful, incarnated into a body. And you bring things into existence in this realm with your mind. You are a creator. You are a co-creator with God. Now, as creators, we focus on what we create, not how to create them. That's God's job. If you needed to launch a satellite, it doesn't matter how you would do it. And the money doesn't matter either. It'll just show up. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't have to work. You actually have to work really hard for this. Money is not just going to come to your feet, okay? You will have to work very hard. But I can promise you, you are going to work your ass off if you know that at the end of it, you will get your desire. You will be surprised what people will do if they're convinced that doing this action or that action will result in their goal coming about. They will move heaven and earth just to make things happen. And you'll enjoy every minute of it. When Donald Trump is doing his thing, real estate development, he barely takes a break. Why? Because he loves working. He loves every minute of it. One thing is that there are sometimes meetings with different masters who are going to form a business together. And usually they meet in private to discuss certain things, but sometimes they have to have meetings with underlings present. Underlings meaning, accountants, lawyers, that sort of thing. And oftentimes a business discussion will come into play, and they'll be needing, a lot of money to make this business happen, like $400-500 million. And the accountants and lawyers will say, well, where are you going to come up with the money? And the masters will smile and just kind of look at each other. And then they say, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the money. Yeah, but where are we going to come up with the money? Oh, it doesn't matter. Just don't worry about it. Because the masters know that it doesn't matter where the money comes from. It will come. How do they know it'll come? Well, because they use their feelings as a gauge. You can just feel it that it's going to happen for you. You feel good. You feel so excited about the deal, about the business, that you know it's going to work. You just feel that it's going to happen. It's like Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, are you doubtful that you're going to get a present? I mean, you can see the presents under the tree, and some of them have your name on it. You know that you're going to get a present. It's Christmas Eve every day when you use these techniques. You go as far as you can see, and then when you get there, you'll see further. In the Bible, there's a statement, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet." The lamp's at your feet, not high up. The lamp is at your feet. Why? Because you're only going to be able to see a couple steps ahead. You're not going to see the entire journey. You don't need to see the entire journey. When your attitude is right, the facts don't count. That might not make any sense to people, but it's true, okay? When your attitude is right, the facts don't count. There's a story of Aristotle Onassis. He's now passed on. He became one of the wealthiest men alive, okay? Well, before he was wealthy, it was just after the war, Second World War, and he was looking at different things that he could do to make money. And he was a member of the Brotherhood. So he knew techniques, and he knew that facts don't count. So he listened to people with discernment, but at the end of the day, he listened to himself, because he knew that 99.9% of facts are actually just opinions. So he was looking at buying ships because he wanted to be part of the shipping industry. And everybody was telling him, no. You don't want to get into the shipping industry. There are a glut of ships, and they're all rotting in the harbors. There's ships everywhere because shipping had ceased during the war. And you couldn't even give your ship away. If you had a ship, I mean, it would cost more money to transport it and sell it for parts than it would to just leave the ship there and rot in the water. So there were so many ships. But Aristotle Onassis knew that the war was over now. and shipping had ceased just because of the war. But if shipping went back to the same amount that it had been before the war, then there were just barely enough ships now, because a lot of the ships had just gone by the wayside. They weren't usable anymore. But he also realized that because of the war, soldiers had been to Europe, and they had, gone to Italy, and they had tried pizza, and they had tried different things. That there was clothing they wanted from France and so forth, that shipping would increase because of the war. There was now more demand for international things than there used to be. People were a lot more global minded than they had been prior to the war. So he knew that shipping would increase, and he had to get as many ships as he possibly could. So he made sure to leverage himself to buy up all of the ships that he could possibly afford. And because people were giving their ships away, they were grateful just to get rid of them. So he managed to amass quite a fleet. And it was a good thing, because shipping really did increase after the war, and he made his fortune. So this is important to understand, because facts are facts, they're true, but they're irrelevant, because you're going to create something that the facts aren't going to count. You're going to create new facts. You're going to create new facts. Does that make sense? So your feelings are going to be your gauge. And you're going to use different props for yourself. I remember one person, I think it was Fracking Frog, who said that Jim Carrey made a check with his name on it. And the check was for $20 million. Well, it ended up coming true, that he really did get paid $20 million for a film. Okay, I'm going to be right back. I have to take my banana bread out of the oven again.
This is some good stuff.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm back. The banana bread is all done, so I'm good. All right, now I want you guys to look at that picture of the pin. That is level 1, okay? That's a level 1 pin. Now, these pins were like badges of honor in gym. There were many different types of pins. There were level pins. There were selling achievement pins. So if you became, for example, a platinum in Jin, that means you had sold a certain number of memberships. If you were considered a go-getter, then you got a blue vase pin, that sort of thing. Okay, so these were badges of honor. Well, I hadn't yet leveled up to level 5, and we had no money. So Jeannie and I had to come up with $20,000 just to get to level 5. And we didn't know how we were going to come up with the money. Okay, so I needed to get 10 grand for myself and 10 grand for Jeannie. And if you look at the pin, the picture below the first pin, so if you can bring that up on YouTube, there is level 4, level 5, and level 6. They're Roman numerals, so it looks like IV and then V and then VI. All right, those are the pins of the top levels at the time. At the time, level 6 was the highest you could go. And when I leveled up to level 4, I was at the highest level. Then level 5 came out, I leveled up to level 5. And then when level 6 came out, I leveled up to that level 6. And they were quite big achievements for us, because we were just pipe fitters. We were construction workers. So you could see the level 5 pin. Now, I didn't have the level 5 pin prior to leveling up. So what do you think I did? Well, we had newsletters coming out, and newsletters would be out, and the symbol of that with the V, and then it has the, I'm going to show you another symbol, but it's got the Jin symbol kind of in the background, and then there's that gold circle. That image was in the newsletter in color. Okay, so what I did is I cut out this image out of the newsletter, and I got some cardboard and I glued it to the cardboard, and then I got a pin and I pinned it on my lapel, no matter where I was, even if it was to my coveralls. I would pin it to my coveralls. And that was my lapel pin, okay? And it was something I looked at every day, and I pinned it to my coveralls every day, or to whatever I was wearing. And so I was constantly looking at this pin. And that is what I used to visualize being a level 5. And I was also using the feeling of being a level 5. I really, really pretended like I was a level 5. And I did everything I could to act like I was a level 5 as well. So I tried to use my best behavior, my best etiquette, everything, because we had to take finishing school. We had to do everything to be level 5. We even had to learn, hard vocabulary. We had to do everything. So I really, really put in effort to becoming a level 5. Well, while all of this was going on, I also had a couple years prior, I had gotten pregnant with twin boys, and they were stillborn. Okay. Now, I don't want to really go much detail on this, but it happened that these boys, what happened to them was my fault. Okay. And I made the mistake of a couple years later, so present day when I'm trying to get to level 5, I made the mistake of talking to Maureen St. Germain in an Akashic Records reading. So she was reading my records. And I made the mistake of asking her about the boys. And what she said sent me into this tailspin of negative emotions. And I essentially blamed myself much worse than what I deserved or what I should have. And I ended up feeling as though I wanted to just die to be with them. I was just so upset that I had lost these boys, and I just wanted to die and be with them. It was a really, really sad time in my life. So for a little while, I want you to imagine that, that I was this broadcast tower, this radio broadcast tower. And with my mind, with my brain, I'm broadcasting a signal. So on one side, I'm broadcasting, I'm a level 5, I'm a level 5. But on the other side, and I'm laughing now because it's all is well now, okay? So understand that this story ends well. Well, on the other side, I'm broadcasting that I want to die. I want to die. Well, I mean, talk about confusion. So what do you think is going to result from that kind of a signal where you're saying, all is well, I'm a level 5, and then you're saying, I want to die on the other side? What do you think is going to happen as a result of that kind of a signal?
Might not get what you want.
Yeah, or you might get kind of a mixed result, right? You might get something you don't want, but then you're going to get what you want on the same side. So don't confuse the universe. But it ended up being that if you're on the right track even if you screw up royally, you're going to get a result that will give you, I'm trying to put this into words. Maybe I'm just going to tell a story so that you understand. What ended up happening is I hit a moose with my car. And it was late at night. It was about 11 p.m. And the moose had already been hit by a truck about 5 minutes prior. So the antlers had come off. The moose was dead in the road, or, well, it was either dead or knocked out. But it was, it was flat on the road, lying prone. Well, I used it as a ramp. So I used this moose as a ramp, and I flew about 250 feet, and I rolled 3 times and landed upright. Okay, so I hit a moose, and I was still conscious when I rolled upright. And the first thing I thought to myself was, thank you, God, that I'm still alive. I'm so grateful that I'm alive. Notice the difference. So just prior to that, I've been wishing I was dead because I wanted to be with my twins. And then suddenly I'm grateful that I'm alive. Notice the difference? So even though I was broadcasting totally the wrong signal, because I was still on track, I was still on the side of good. I was trying to better mankind. I was trying to better myself and my family. Because I had that mentality where I was praying to God and I was thankful to God and I was, asking the angels for help, I got a result which changed my track back to the right place, which was gratitude and just thankful and happy for being alive. That is the most important thing. But I'm telling this story so that you understand that you can, in this process, screw up royally and you're still going to end up on the right track if your intentions are to better mankind, to increase everyone, like a tide will raise all boats. Okay, that's what you're going to be. You're going to be that tide to bring everyone in the world up a notch. Okay, you're not bringing anyone down. You're not doing harm to anyone. You are going to better all of mankind. You are going to be co-creators with God. That kind of an attitude is going to get you on the right track, regardless of what happens and regardless if you screw up. In other words, in the end, you can't actually screw up. Now, because I had an accident with my car and it was a moose, my insurance premiums did not go up because the Canadian government has a thing where if you hit wildlife, it's just a comprehensive claim and no one is at fault. Okay, so my premiums didn't go up, but I totaled my car. So what do you think I got? I happened to get a lot of money because my car was worth quite a bit. How much money do you think I got?
Enough to get to that trip.
Yeah, I got enough to level up to level 5. Exactly. And I just bought a really cheap beater and I'm actually still driving it. I still have that beater. But yeah, that's what I bought. And every time I get in that car, and everybody makes fun of me because I've got this old car. But I've got a new car too, but I've got this old car still. And every time I get in it, I think to myself, I'm so glad that I'm alive. Thank you, God, for saving my life.
That must be your grateful car.
Yes, it is. And people can't figure it out because they don't know why I won't sell it. But I won't sell it because I get that feeling every time. So I did a mixed signal and I got a mixed result. I got into an accident. I didn't have my nice car anymore. But in the end, I gained because I leveled up to level 5. I got to go to Rome. I got that wonderful experience in Rome. And the best is that I learned that I am grateful to be alive. I am grateful to God. Now, I talked about money earlier in this lesson, okay? And I talked about it as being a hard to imagine goal, but you can actually have money as your goal, okay? But this is how you're going to do it. You are going to imagine a dollar amount down to the penny, because you are going to figure out what you're going to do with the money, how you're going to spend it, and you're going to be specific. Okay, so if you want a private jet, well, okay, you're going to have to buy the jet, but then also you're going to need a pilot, right? Who's going to file your flight plans, right? You got to have somebody to do that for you. What about a plane mechanic, an aircraft mechanic? Do you know that that actually takes time too? There's a time requirement involved, because if you're going to get an aircraft mechanic, that's like a 6-month, 7-month wait list just to get them to look at it. So that's going to take time as well. You can't just think about money. It's going to actually take a little bit of time out of your schedule to find this guy. Do you have a hangar where you're going to store your plane, right? So you have to think about all that. What about jet fuel? That costs money, right? So you have to think about all these things. And I'm serious. You're going to actually have to think about all of the things you'll need to get your goal, because all of that costs money. And the more you think about that stuff, the more it's going to become real to you. Also, maybe it's not the goal that God has for you. Maybe that's not your destiny. It's, it's nice to think about having a yacht or having a plane, but then when you think about all of the intricacies involved, you might go, ugh, I don't want to do that, right? So it might be a little bit too much for you. If you get a yacht, are there slips available in the harbor that you want? In the marina? I mean, really, are there slips available? You're going to have to look into this. Yeah, you have to buy the yacht, but then you're going to need a crew, right? Who's gonna pilot that yacht, right? So you're going to need a crew. You'll need a staff for your yacht. You'll need a place to store your yacht. So you need a slip in the marina that you want. What about fuel, right? You're going to have to consider all of that. And you have to think about income taxes, sales tax, hidden costs, right? Does your goal involve needing contractors, employees? What about shipping costs, right? You have to think about all of those things, because generally speaking, whatever something costs, you'll probably need to earn double in order to afford it. Because if you got to consider income taxes, okay, so if you earn $1 million, you won't have $1 million by the end of it, because some of it's going to go to the government, right? Unless you have a very creative accountant that can create a loophole, maybe a business loss or something for you. But still, you're going to have to pay some taxes, right? And then you'll have to pay sales tax in most places for what you're buying. So by the time you add all the hidden costs, whatever you think it's going to cost, it's probably going to cost double. Or, well, you're probably going to have to earn double in order to afford that. So it's something to consider. If your goal is money, make sure you have a dollar amount to the penny. And you can estimate, but I mean, be really careful with your estimates. And you're going to have it very specific. I'm going to spend the money on this. I'm going to spend the money on that. And that will make it easier to imagine. And again, I touched on it. You're going to have to think about time requirements as well. So if you're getting a Maserati, you're going to have to wait 4 months for it to be built in Moreno, Italy, right? Have you thought about that? Or are you going to get a used Maserati because it's already available, right? I talked about slips available for your yacht. I mean, is that going to take time? Maybe there isn't one available right now. I talked about the mechanic. I mean, you might have to wait to get your mechanic to look at the plane. So all of those things are very important when considering this. All right, so I want to direct your attention to the pictures below the pins. This is in Genie training text. There's quite opulent settings there. Okay, so one of those is a GIN conference. That is our classroom. So the stuff that we're learning right now, that's how I learned it, is I would go to these events and I would get training. Now, where everybody's standing below that, it's the same room, but people are dancing and they're just having a great time. That's one of the balls. So that would be at an event, okay? So we want to think about that. We're going to have events with this club here. Now, below that picture of everybody standing and dancing, there's another picture with a few thousand people in it. It's a very big hall. Do you see that? And then there's right below that, it's the same picture, but it says like-minded people. Does everybody see those pictures?
They are up.
Excellent. Okay. So that is just a regular GIN conference. All right. Now, this is where we're going. Do you guys understand that? This is where we're going. It's just a few people right now. But if we want, we can create a club like this.
Love it.
So something to consider is doing an event. We can join another club, or we could kind of ride on the coattails of another group. Like we could go, all of us, to a Tony Robbins course or something like that. Or we could create all of our own. It depends. But if you guys are down with this, we can do it.
Sounds great to me.
All right, and then below the pictures, I included, it's my SoundCloud, and it has level 1, session 1, all the way to, I believe it is session 8. Okay, so I don't require that you listen to these within the next couple of days. In fact, if you're going to be listening to Your Wish is Your Command, I recommend you finish that first, okay? Because that's like kindergarten. Your Wish is Your Command is like kindergarten. And level 1 is just like first grade, okay? Now, I do recommend that you download it, though. So the first 8 sessions, I recommend you get a flash drive or an external hard drive, or you can download it right to your computer. But I recommend that you keep this for yourself, because then nobody can take this away from you. Then you have it, you can listen to it. Now, it depends on how obsessive you want to get with this stuff. Kevin Trudeau, when he first started out and he was broke and he was trying to make money, he listened to this stuff in the shower, okay? He had a waterproof radio, and he would put a cassette in there of his mentors, and his mentors would be speaking. He'd be in the shower and he'd be listening. And then he would go out and he would shave and he would be listening, okay? Then he would go and get in his car and he would have cassettes in his car and he'd listen on the way to work, and so on and so forth. So he would listen, you know, when he had a road trip, he would go jogging and he would play a cassette with his Walkman and that sort of thing. So he would be constantly listening throughout the day. Now, you don't have to be quite as obsessive, especially if, you know, you've got a family and stuff. You've got kids screaming in the background. I get it that you can't always listen, all right? But the more that you listen, the more that you read, the more you're going to be successful. It's just a fact. So if you listen to these audios driving to work, you know, that's an ideal time, especially if you drive by yourself. Then, you know, it's like free time, right? Also, if you're going for a jog or a walk, you might want to listen to this stuff. I used to go on long road trips because I would have to work away from home. And on my drive there, I would listen to audios. And it was actually really fun, and it allowed me to focus on the road, but yet I was also focused on my goals, if that makes any sense. Okay, and below session 8 is a picture of Hall. This is near, well, this is in Switzerland. It's in Zurich. And I went there for the level 6 conference. So that is a picture of that music hall there, just to show you kind of where we're going with this. And then I posted a YouTube video of Kevin Trudeau talking about what you want wants you. And that is excellent. It's about 35 minutes long, but it is an excellent view of your dream and how to make your dream. Okay, so that is it for the lesson today, unless we have some questions. Are there any questions?
None from me. Just ready to get rolling.
I'm good, hippie. That's good stuff though. Thank you for that. And I'll be trying to picture some more stuff in my mind like that.
Awesome to hear. Glad to have you aboard, Agla. Okay, well, thank you everybody for tonight. I guess we can end the recording right now, and I'll stick around for a few more minutes to talk with everybody.